Hey everyone! Welcome to Everyday English Steps. Today, we have a special story for you. Listening to stories is a great way to improve your English. You'll learn new words, hear natural sentences, and have fun at the same time. So, are you ready? Let's get started. Emily's Awakening, A Tale of Hidden Ivy. Chapter 1, Humble Beginnings. In the soft glow of early dawn, Emily stepped out of her small, modest apartment above the service entrance of a grand university building. Her world had always been painted in gentle hues, her mother's caring hands mending worn clothes, and her father's determined face as he swept the hallowed corridors of the institution. Despite her humble origins, Emily carried within her an unyielding desire to rewrite her destiny. Every day, she clutched a time-worn notebook filled with dreams, scribbled ideas on literature and art, and visions of a future as expansive as the ivy-covered walls of the university her father served. Growing up, Emily often felt defined by what others saw as her limitations. While many of her peers chattered about trivialities and glamorous parties, she sought refuge in the world of books and in the whispered promises of a brighter life. For her, the university was not merely a building, it was the gateway to a realm where intellect, passion, and endless possibility intertwined. Each evening after helping her father close up the grand foyer, Emily retreated to a quiet corner of her room, immersing herself in textbooks and dreaming of the day she would wander the storied halls as a student rather than a servant. That transformative moment came on a rainy afternoon when an acceptance letter arrived. Clutched tightly in her hand, the letter was a tangible reminder that her perseverance had been rewarded. Emily, the janitor's daughter, had earned a scholarship to study literature and history, fields that resonated deeply with her soul. With the letter as both shield and promise, she vowed silently to honor the sacrifices of her family by turning the impossible into reality. Chapter 2, A Chance Encounter. The first day at the university was a whirl of nerves and excitement for Emily. She walked through corridors teeming with brilliant minds and confident strides, feeling at once both invisible and oddly out of place in her simple attire amid the polished elegance of her fellow students. Yet beneath her quiet exterior, a fierce inner light burned, a determination that transcended appearances. In a crowded lecture hall, as Professor Langley eloquently expounded upon the intricacies of romantic poetry, Emily's eyes inadvertently met those of a young man sitting 2 rows ahead. His eyes, a deep stormy blue, were intense, mysterious, and carried an unmistakable kindness. Although he appeared to come from a world of privilege and high society, there was an undercurrent of empathy in his gaze that belied his refined background. After the lecture, as students began to disperse, the young man, named Adrian, approached her. "I noticed you were taking such detailed notes," he said with a gentle smile. "Your insights on the professor's argument were remarkably perceptive." Emily's cheeks warmed with surprise at the compliment. In that brief exchange, the boundaries between their two worlds began to blur. Over the following days, their encounters grew more frequent. In the hushed alcoves of the library and during quiet moments in sunlit campus corners, they delved into discussions about literature, history, and dreams that seemed too vast for the confines of their respective backgrounds. Chapter 3, The Forbidden Connection. As autumn softened into winter, the connection between Emily and Adrian deepened. Every shared secret and whispered laugh wove their hearts closer together. Yet amid the gentle unfolding of their romance lay an ever-present barrier, Emily's background. The secret of being the janitor's daughter was one she guarded zealously. In a society that prized pedigree and appearance, revealing her humble origins risked shattering the fragile world of privilege that Adrian inhabited. Adrian, too, found himself ensnared by conflicting expectations. Born into a family steeped in wealth and influence, his life was scripted by traditions that rarely allowed deviations into the realms of unpredictable passion and vulnerability. Despite the heavy weight of familial expectations, every time he looked into Emily's eyes that shone with determination and sincerity, he felt the irresistible pull of a love that defied social conventions. One crisp winter evening, beneath a canopy of softly lit street lamps and amid the gentle whisper of falling snow, Adrian and Emily took a long walk together. The quiet hush of the night provided a sanctuary for truth. "Emily," Adrian began hesitantly, "I feel as though I've known you forever. There's a depth within you that's more brilliant than anything I've ever encountered." But I wonder, is there a part of you have kept hidden? Emily's heart pounded in her chest. The truth of her humble beginnings, so long a secret, both her burden and her strength, had always been a delicate matter. With eyes shimmering in the dim light, she replied softly, "Some parts of me are meant for quiet corners, Adrian. I worry that if you knew everything, you might see me differently." Her words hung in the cold air, heavy with unspoken confessions. Gently, Adrian reached for her hand. "I want to know all of you, Emily. I believe that true love embraces every facet of who we are." Chapter 4, Shadows of the Past. Despite the tenderness of their connection, the hidden truths of Emily's life began to cast long shadows. Rumors started circulating around campus, whispers about a brilliant yet mysterious girl whose origins did not align with the expected profile of an elite student. Some students muttered that she was merely the janitor's daughter, others suggested that her story was shrouded in scandal and shame. One overcast afternoon, as Emily strolled along a tree-lined path near the ancient library, she encountered a small group of students engaged in hushed conversation. "Isn't that the janitor's daughter?" one sneered. "How can she belong here, discussing great literature as if she were one of us?" The barbed words stung deeply, and tears welled momentarily in Emily's eyes. Though she had faced judgment before, hearing such disdain in the very halls of learning she cherished was almost too painful to bear. Clutching her notebook tightly, she marched on, her resolve growing stronger with every step. That evening, in the solitude of her modest dorm room, Emily stared at her acceptance letter, a beacon of hope amid the bitter realities of prejudice. The ink on the paper shimmered like a promise. Her worth was measured not by the circumstances of her birth, but by the dreams she dared to pursue. Still, she knew that the road ahead would force her to confront not only academic challenges, but also the entrenched biases of a society divided by class. Meanwhile, Adrian wrestled with his own inner turmoil. At an elegant dinner hosted by his family, he overheard disparaging remarks about commoners infiltrating elite circles. The realization that his world was founded on exclusivity and silent prejudice made his heart ache. That night, alone in the vast marble-floored foyer of his family mansion, he resolved to break the chains of prejudice, even if it meant defying the very people who claimed him as their own. Chapter 5, Love Against the Odds. The mounting tension reached its peak at the university's annual winter ball. The ball, resplendent with glimmering chandeliers and elegantly attired guests, was meant to be a celebration of academic achievement and refined social graces. For most, it was a night of enchantment. For Emily, it was a stage upon which the battle for her identity would be fought. Dressed in a simple yet elegant gown, a cherished gift from her mother, Emily stepped into the grand ballroom with both trepidation and quiet confidence. As she moved through the opulent hall, murmurs and sidelong glances followed her. Observers noted the stark contrast between her unadorned attire and the glittering finery surrounding her. Amid the sea of disapproving eyes, however, one gaze shone with unwavering warmth, that of Adrian. Meeting her at the entrance, his eyes conveyed both admiration and defiance. "You belong here, Emily," he whispered, as if to shield her from the cruelty of judgment. Their hands met, and for a few blissful moments, the world around them melted away into a blur of soft music and whispered scandal. Yet even as the night unfolded in a cascade of dance and laughter, reality intruded. Midway through the ball, an austere relative of Adrian, a man with eyes as cold as marble, approached them. "Adrian, do you realize what you are doing?" he hissed. "Mixing with someone of your background will only ruin you." The venom in his words sent shockwaves through the room. Emily's heart pounded painfully, and she fought back a surge of tears. Adrian's jaw set in determined defiance. After a tense silence, he replied, "I refuse to let the narrow prejudices of my world dictate whom I love. Emily's heart is as precious as any treasure, and I will not be swayed by shallow judgment." That confrontation rippled through the elegant gathering. The ball, once a scene of refined celebration, now simmered with scandal and discontent. Yet amid the turmoil, Emily found herself emboldened by Adrian's unwavering stand. In that moment, she understood that love, true, unyielding love, was potent enough to challenge entrenched societal norms. Chapter 6, The Crucible of Truth. In the following weeks, campus life became charged with murmurs and divided opinions. Though Emily remained resilient, the sting of isolation was palpable as some students shunned her while others admired her courage. Still, in the quiet alcoves of the university library and the secret smiles shared among like-minded souls, she discovered solace. On a rainy afternoon in the depths of the library, while poring over an ancient anthology, Emily was approached by Professor Langley. His kind eyes and measured tone offered unexpected comfort as he said, "Emily, I have observed your journey with deep admiration. Your passion for literature and your courage in the face of adversity are rare virtues. True scholarship is about transcending boundaries and challenging the status quo." Those words resonated within Emily, affirming that her struggles were not in vain. Meanwhile, Adrian found himself increasingly torn between the oppressive expectations of his family and the irresistible call of his heart. Invitations to extravagant soirees became arenas for conflicting loyalties, and the weight of ancestral pride threatened to overwhelm him. In a quiet moment of vulnerability, he confided in a close friend, "Loving Emily makes me feel as though I'm defying everything I was taught to value. Yet without her, I fear I have lost the very essence of who I am." Determined to reconcile his inner turmoil, Adrian knew that a reckoning was inevitable. One night, in a private confrontation with his parents, he declared with trembling resolve, "I have chosen my own path. My love for Emily is not a mistake, it is the honest truth of my heart. I can no longer hide behind the pretenses of wealth and tradition." His words sent tremors through the foundations of his family's long-held expectations. Though initial shock gave way to indignation, subtle cracks began to appear in the rigid walls of exclusivity that had long defined his world. At last, the love between Emily and Adrian was forced into the light, a love that would have to endure the full force of society's scrutiny. Chapter 7: Embracing the Future. As spring arrived, nature itself seemed to celebrate renewal and transformation. The campus, now awash with blooming flowers and the gentle hum of rebirth, became the setting for the evolution of Emily and Adrian's love. Days were spent studying in sunlit courtyards, sharing dreams beneath blossoming trees, and nurturing a bond that only grew stronger with every shared secret. Emily's academic accomplishments shone as brightly as her spirit. She emerged as a respected voice among her peers, a living testament to the power of perseverance and the beauty of hidden potential. Every essay she penned and every discussion she led subtly redefined what it meant to come from humble beginnings, inspiring others to look past superficial labels and embrace the richness within each individual. Adrian, too, experienced a profound transformation. Gradually, he broke free from the confines of his privileged upbringing and learned that true strength was found not in wealth or status, but in the courage to follow one's heart. His relationship with Emily became a beacon of hope, a reminder that love, when nurtured by authenticity and understanding, could bridge even the widest divides. Yet, the journey was not without its challenges. Lingering prejudices, whispered disapproval, and the scars of past judgments occasionally reappeared. There were days when Emily's resolve wavered and nights when Adrian's determination faltered beneath the relentless pressure of societal expectations. But in the quiet moments of darkness, they discovered strength in each other. They learned that love was not a fixed destination but a continuous journey, a process of growth, acceptance, and mutual trust. One balmy evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Emily and Adrian sat together on a quiet campus bench. The soft rustling of leaves and distant laughter merged with the promise of a new dawn. Emily rested her head on Adrian's shoulder and murmured, "Our love has endured trials I never imagined possible. Every hardship has revealed that the most beautiful truths are born from adversity." Adrian squeezed her hand gently, his eyes reflecting both vulnerability and steadfast resolve. "Emily, you have shown me that one's worth is not determined by where we come from but by the strength of our hearts. With you, I feel complete, and together, I know we can overcome anything." As twilight deepened into night, their silence spoke volumes, a silence filled with the promise of tomorrow, a promise that no matter how treacherous the road, love would always light the darkest path. Epilogue. Years later, the university would still recount the tale of a girl named Emily, once known simply as the janitor's daughter who dared to dream. Her journey, intertwined with Adrian's defiant stand against a prejudiced society, became a symbol of hope for all those who struggled to break free of the constraints imposed by birth and tradition. Their story was whispered in lecture halls and debated in college cafes, a timeless reminder that the true measure of a person lies not in their origins, but in the courage to pursue their dreams. Emily's ascent from the narrow corridors of her modest home to the grand libraries of academia was more than a tale of romance. It was a testament to the transformative power of education, resilience, and the unyielding spirit of love, a spirit that dares to shine even in the face of overwhelming odds. In a world too often divided by superficial distinctions, her legacy affirmed that every heart, no matter how humble, is capable of blooming into something extraordinary.